October 1980, we were talking to Mrs. Edna Paisley, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. The occasion is Mrs. Paisley's 85th birthday, and now Mrs. Paisley, or from now on, we'll just call you Grandma. How do you feel today about reaching the much above average of 85? Aging.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. I changed it around. I say I'm 58 instead of 85.
Okay.
My doctor told me I was getting younger every day, so I had to believe what he says. He's my doctor.
Okay. As we mentioned, you're a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. How many children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren do you have, if you can remember them all?
I have 6 living children. I have 19 grandchildren and 21 great-grandchildren.
Okay. Speaking of children, would you tell us a little bit about your childhood, such as where you were born, what you liked to do as a child, where you went to school, and what was it like in those days?
Well, it was pretty rough lots of ways, but I didn't realize it because I was too young to begin with. And I was born in near Webster, South Dakota. And when I was nearly 3 years old, I moved to Fort Pierce, South Dakota, and lived in town for 3 or 4 years, and then moved out to the country about 20 miles from town. And from then on, I didn't know much but prairie and cattle and horses and pigs and chickens and all that kind of stuff, making gardens. And I went to school, country school, where I had about 8 or 10 students. And I didn't do very good there. And I went to town and I did a lot better for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, I received a scholarship from Huron College for 6 months tuition, but never got to go. And then I went to town and went to high school a couple of years. And then I started teaching school. And when I was 19, I went to Omaha, Nebraska, and took a year of nurses training, and I got tired of that and came home, went back to teaching. And then one year, 1918, the influenza was so bad that they closed the schools and asked the teachers to go to town and take care of flu patients, so that's what I did for the rest of the school year. And then I got married. From then on, it was kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids.
How did you meet Grandpa?
I met him when I was nursing. I was taking care of the flu patients. He was driving the doctor's car because the doctor had to make long trips into the country and shovel snow, and so my husband went out, and he wasn't my husband then, but he was driving the doctor's car and doing the snow shoveling so the doctor wouldn't have to do that. And one day he was at the hospital, and there was a mutual friend there, and I was talking to her, and I said, do you know that man over there that's with the doctor today? And she said yes, and she told me who he was. And he was running for county treasurer at that time. And pretty soon she came back to me and she said, Mr. Paisley is asking about you. I'll have to get you together. So she introduced us, and that was that.
Okay. During the first 10 years or so of your married life, you lived through several calamities, such as your home burning, floods, etc. Tell us about those incidents.
Well, I'd only been in the home about a year, a year and a half. and we had a roof, the kitchen had a slanting roof, and I had a long kerosene or gasoline stove on the low side of the roof, under the low side, and I generated the fire, was going to use it, and I kind of forgot about it and let it get cold. So I went and I thought it would still be hot enough to light, so I lit it. And the whole pan underneath was full of gas, and it all went up. And it burnt the house down, most of it down. But there wasn't anybody hurt. And after that, we built a house, and it was better than before. And, well, we did have some floods. At one time, in 1927, there was a big flood, and we weren't going to move. Our house was kind of low down, but we still thought water wouldn't come up to it, and we weren't going to move. And then some friends up on the hill told us we better come up there, so we did. And the water didn't get into our house, but it filled the basement full, within 6 inches of the roof, of the floor. And we just stayed away one night and then went back.
Okay. When you left South Dakota in 1930 and moved to Oklahoma City, where you lived for a couple of years or so, and then migrated to California. Thinking back, do you have any regrets about your moves?
No, I loved Oklahoma City. I thought that was a great place to live, and I liked the home in Oklahoma. I said, that's my home. And we enjoyed that very much. Kids had lots of fun going to parks, and they went to school, and we moved into a new house, and wasn't very far. If we had stayed there, the kids were within walking distance from kindergarten to the university, and but we, of course, didn't stay there that long. And we had a great time on the way from Oklahoma to California. Camping all the way, and it was lots of fun. We had a good tent, and every place we went, they told us, especially in Texas, they said it never rains in Texas, so don't worry about that. And it turned out that every place we stopped in Texas, it rained. And in Rio, it rained so hard and so long that we had to stay there 3 weeks. And washed out the international bridge between the United States and Mexico, and washed out a bridge over a canyon that we would have had to leave on, and so we couldn't go until that water went down, and they put planks across so we could drive across. So we got out of Rio that way. And when we were at Galveston, that was the first place we saw the ocean. And we camped right by the bay, only a few yards or rods or something, a very short distance from the bay, right in front of the seawall that kept the water from going up in the canyon. And we were only there for about 4 days, I think. And the bay was real good for the kids to play in because there was no surf there, and it was shallow, and they enjoyed that a lot, playing in the bay. And then about the 4th day, when I was having to sweep sand out of the tent so much I got tired of it, but I don't think that would have bothered me, but something just made me say that when my husband came in from out playing with the kids, he came in the tent and I was sweeping sand, and I said, I'm real sick of this sand. I said, let's pack up and get out of here. He says, I'm with you 100%. And he says, I'll go call the kids and we'll start to pack. And I thought, that finishes it. The kids are having so much fun they won't want to leave. But pretty soon he came back, all the kids running after him, and they started packing. So, and 2 or 3 hours from then, why we left and drove to Houston. We stayed there a couple days, and it rained all the time. And then we started to get out away from the rain, so we started north and went up to Gonzales, and that's right on the Santa Ana River. And we stopped there, and my husband went into town, and when he came back, he said that they told him that there had been a storm at Galveston, a tornado, the night that we left there, just after we left. And it had washed water over the seawall and drowned about 50 people up in the canyon. So we were very lucky that we left when we did.
Yeah.
And
I guess so.
I wanted to go to town too, and so we had our tent right by the river, and I told the kids to stay away from the water, not to go near the water. I was just going to be gone a little bit, to stay away. So when I got back, I found that they really hadn't minded very good. Frank and Bill had put Forrest in my wash tub and floated him on the river. And so I told them, I said, what would you have done if he'd stood up in the tub and tipped it over? And they said, oh, we can both swim. We could have got him out. And I thought to myself, the way that river flows so swiftly, they would have had a terrible time finding him, keeping track of him in the river. And I thank the Lord that he was watching over us all the time.
Well, sound like quite an adventure.
Well, it really was. It was exciting, and when we weren't having troubles, we had fun camping and looking at things and on the way. And when we left Oklahoma City, there's a camp lot near there, and we camped there for 2 or 3 weeks. And the kids were fishing, and my husband made some turtle soup with a turtle they caught on their fish line. And we didn't like the turtle soup very well, any of us, but he said we had to eat it before we got anything else to eat. So we tried to eat it, but we all finally gave up. Anyway, we went on to, like I said, to Rio, and then we went from there on up to Arizona, New Mexico, and then Arizona, and then California, over to Arizona, or to San Diego, and up the coast to Redondo Beach. And we stayed there about 3 weeks, and then moved to Pasadena, where we lived for 15 years, and then bought our lot in Monrovia and built our house on it. And we lived there 20 years.
What made you decide to settle in this area?
In Monrovia? Well, there was no place to rent in Pasadena. It was just after the war, and everybody was coming back, and all the young people getting married and needing homes, and there wasn't any place we could find to rent. So we decided to buy a lot somewhere, and this was what we could afford, so we came out here, and we have liked Monrovia very much.
Okay.
Lived here since 47.
Okay, looking back in your life, what would you regard as being the happiest, say, 5 or 10 year period in your life?
Well, that's hard to say. I can't complain about any of it. It was all interesting and We didn't really suffer any loss until my husband passed away. The only sadness we had, really.
Okay, getting back to today, can you tell us about any special desires or wishes you have?
Yeah. I don't know so much of it, I don't know where to start. We all want money to buy things we want, homes and everything. I like to own my home much better than renting. You have to move every little while. Somebody sells a house and you have to move. Yes, it's all about even up, all the way. I was all happy.
Okay, we want to wish you a very happy birthday and many more to come. Thank you for this interview, and we'd like to do it again some other time. For now, happy birthday, Grandma.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ron.
This concludes our interview for station KCUF Channel 69.